It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. You are logged on to Wrestling Inc. across any of the platforms where you want your podcast, and you're tuning in with myself, Jimmy Korderas, and the Demon Diva, Issa. After Dynamite, it's another wonderful Wednesday night. Thank you all for being here live across YouTube, Twitch, wherever it may be, or if you're checking us out after the fact audio only, we appreciate you all the same. Boys and girls, let's have some fun here tonight. First off, Issa, how are you down there in, what is it? Is it sunny Puerto Rico today?
Yeah, it was 91 degrees today.
Woo!
It was 91 degrees. So remember last time we spoke, I was telling you guys, oh, it's kind of cold. Yeah, that was a one-day thing.
Jimmy, how's Toronto?
Sunny but cool, very cool. It was chilly today, that's for sure. But it's supposed to be hot tamale. So as I say, chilly today, hot tamale. And well, not hot. Hot for here in November. It's supposed to get up to about 60, 65 degrees. So for here, that's like, wow.
I'm going to say for Ontario in November, that's a pretty nice treat.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate everybody live in the chat room starting to file in. We will talk all things AEW Dynamite tonight as they are just a few weeks away from Full Gear. Are they on the momentum path? They should be this far out, or this close out, I should say, to their pay-per-view. We'll talk all of that. We'll go segment by segment. But first, I figured we would do like we do. We're not going to talk about any news items per se, but today is 25 years. Exactly. November 9th, 25 years ago in 1997 was the famous Survivor Series in Montreal, which is only referred to as one thing, which is the Montreal Screwjob. Now, no point of us really needing to dissect what it means for wrestling history. That's been very well documented in the last 25 years of Britt leaving, going to WCW, and et cetera, et cetera. The birth of the Mr. McMahon on-air character. There it is. There's the summary of it. But I thought it'd be fun because, Jimmy, we were doing the podcast here on the actual day. You were there. There's even this photo right here of you in the match, in the main event match, before they even get the bell rung. They they just brawled around the arena for a while. There's you trying to authoritate some order. Sean telling you to screw off. He's going to choke Britt anyways. You were there, Jimmy. So it's not often you get to talk to somebody who was there in the ringside area as this all goes down. I have a few specific questions I want to ask you, but first, just general. When I say Montreal Screwjob, firsthand memories that come to mind.
Well, for us, it was like we were told, be ready for the finish. This is what's going to happen. It's going to be a schmoz, blah, blah, blah. So like you said, before the match, they brawled all over the building. We went out there, tried to keep them separated. And obviously, as they brawled through the crowd, try to keep the crowd off as well. And then I'm back in Gorilla watching the match and waiting for everything to go down because we were told that we were going to have to run down at the end of it to help break the schmoz up. Next thing you know, I hear in our IFB, okay, now Earl, get up now. And I'm standing like right beside Bruce Pritchard, who's manning Gorilla, because Mr. B, Gerald Briscoe, was out with Vince at ringside, accompanying Vince. Bruce wasn't the one who talked to Earl, and that threw me off. I'm like, that wasn't Bruce. And, the person manning Gorilla is the one who usually, gives us the signals, gives us the times and stuff like that. So it had to come from the truck, in my opinion. Somebody in the truck said it. So the next thing you know, Earl gets up from taking the bump, calls for the bell, darts out of the ring, and we're all standing in Gorilla going, what just happened? It was supposed to end in a schmoz. We were supposed to go down, break it up. What do we do? And, and Bruce was just, stay here for now.
So that's interesting because I've never heard that perspective of somebody standing in Gorilla like you were. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't Bruce that's in Earl's ear to get up off the bump, so that way he can then, of course, ring the bell. Right. You said it's probably somebody from the truck. I guess the first assumption is Kevin Dunn.
I would think.
But what's interesting about this is that we've always kind of tried to learn over history who knew. Obviously, we knew Sean knew that was going to happen. He eventually came out and admitted it. I assume by proxy, Triple H knows. Vince knows. Jarrett Briscoe knows. I think Briscoe's even come out lately and said that he was giving Sean pointers on if Brett tries to fight him, how to defend himself. I assume Patterson would have known. Pat, did Vince extend it to Kevin Dunn, saying, "Look, for TV purposes, this is what's going to go down"? Maybe even last minute. Do you think?
I'm just assuming here. I don't know. I didn't reckon. Kevin Dunn has a distinct voice too. It didn't sound like Kevin. That's the thing. So even then, I'm like, who was that? And I still to this day do not know who that was.
I love this.
Wow, that's an interesting little mystery there because and why would it? I don't know if Bruce has ever did Bruce know, do you think? Or do you think Bruce was kept in the dark? So that way he couldn't be held accountable. Much like how Jim Ross, head of talent relations, was kept in the dark, so he couldn't have been held accountable by Britt.
If Bruce knew about it, he's the greatest actor in the world. Okay. Because he looked genuinely shocked like everybody else. I think this was a tight circle, kept very, very close. I don't think they wanted to get it to too many people because once more people find out about it, there's more of a chance of it getting out.
Sure. So Jimmy, this is cool. So we know. I mean, if you watch what I think it's the Wrestling with Shadows, you hear the Brett go into that meeting with Vince that the night of, still mic'd. And they basically just kind of agree, let's just do just a schmoz, like you said, just a DQ finish, and we can just get ourselves to Raw the next night.
Right.
So Brett has Sean has a sharpshooter on Brett. It looks like Brett, just before that bell gets rung, is going to sweep Sean's leg, going to reverse it. When Brett goes to reverse the sharpshooter, is that the finish? Does he get Sean on the sharpshooter? Is that when Triple H and company comes in, and then the Hart? Like, what was the finish as far as you knew? Do you know?
All I knew was all we were told was it's going to end in a schmoz, and when they, when it's a mess out there, you guys go out and help break it up. That was all we were told. We weren't told this is exactly going to happen. We were just said you'll get called when you need to go out. That was it. So I didn't know if it was going to happen off the sharpshooter or reversal of the sharpshooter or anything like that. I was just waiting for the cue to go. Just when they said, "Okay, go break up the schmoz."
Because I look now, if Wikipedia is right, which it usually is on these things, especially it's got 25 years to get it right. The match time came to 19 minutes and 58 seconds. That does not count the schmoz that happens before the one that we had just showed the photo of you trying to break up. So I mean, at 19, to me that seems like, okay, this match is going almost 20 minutes. That seems like it's time to let's just go home here. We've given the people what they want. Let's just give them a little more chaos and tune in tomorrow. So that's interesting. I wonder how much more was there and what it would have been.
No, and obviously the big question everybody says, people have always asked me, what would you have done if it would have been you in that position? And like, it's easy to say I would have, I wouldn't have. Well, I guess you do what the boss asked you to do. I guess if you want to keep your job, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to end up in WCW too?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? You don't know what's going to happen. Earl was protecting himself. So who do I side with this? I felt for both men. I felt for everybody involved. And it was hard to feel sorry for Sean because Sean was a little cocky about it at the time. He was a different person back then. You know what I mean? But I felt for both men. But and it's in a weird way from a business standpoint. I kind of understand where Vince was coming from as well.
When did you realize what was going on, right? Because you hear this weird voice, you get sent out there. When did you start processing exactly what was happening here? How long did it take you?
It took a while because like after Sean left the ring, he looked like he was, when you saw how he took the belt, it was like he grabbed it and it was like he looked like he was upset. But just before he walked out of the arena through the curtains to go back through Gorilla, he jumped up and down and celebrated. Then he came through Gorilla, and as he stepped through Gorilla out into where the seating area is to watch the backstage monitor where all the boys are, he kind of threw the belt down. Are you kidding me? I don't want it this way. And he put on a bit of a show. Let's put it that way. And so that had me curious too. Like, I'm wondering what's going on here. And, and then, of course, all the stuff that happened afterwards with Vince going to see him and, Taker telling him, you got to go face him face to face,
Yeah. Yeah. That's like you said. Yeah. I mean, if you're the ref, I mean, if it's you or if it's Hebner or whoever, like, yeah, I mean, do you come to Brett and tell him what's going to happen, expecting Brett to take you along to Atlanta and give you part of that $3 million contract or $5 million contract?
Right.
But Jimmy, you go back out there, right? Are you out there when the off pay-per-view footage that we all have seen now of Brett smashing the monitors, are you out there trying to break that up?
No,
not
yet. They said everybody just wait. We'll let you know. Because they weren't sure what was going to happen with Brett. Obviously we saw the footage of Brett spitting on Vince and the whole bit like that, him breaking the monitors and doing the WCW in the air and all that stuff. We were just, shocked like everybody else, waiting to be told what to do next.
To the best of your recollection, did anybody ask you, since you're a ref, since you're part of the referee camaraderie, did anybody ask you, Jimmy, did you know?
A few guys did the next day in Ottawa.
Yeah.
Like, did you know anything about it? I said, no. I like it, and people they, you could tell if somebody's trying to cover it up a little bit. I was completely in the dark and it was just one of those weird nights. And I just remember having the meeting the day after with Vince, held a meeting the next night, to Tuesday night, when we were taping for the following week's Raw, and having a meeting with everybody and telling him he had to do what he had to do, and then giving his explanation that, Brett didn't want to do business the right way. And the proper thing to do in this industry is you drop the title before you leave, because Brett wanted to relinquish the title. Just to turn it over, because he didn't want to turn it over to Sean. He didn't want to do the honors for Sean, so to speak.
Which is nuts, because Sean. I mean, Brett probably would have, and then the famous story is, however many weeks prior, Brett says, I would graciously do the same thing to you, and then or I would drop the title to you. I have no problem with that. And then Sean goes, I thank you, but I would not do the same to you. And that's when Brett said, all right, I can't. Like, it's just amazing that one petty, just these two just acting like children, just want that thing just spiraled it of, I'm not dropping it in Canada. I'm not doing. I'll drop it to anybody else.
Right.
But not to him.
I think at one point he even said, he mentioned Steve Lombardi.
Yeah.
Brooklyn Brawler.
I think I've heard that.
Yeah. So, but
that was kind of like a joke, kind of like to emphasize his point. But didn't he, like, one of the legit suggestions? Didn't he say, like, let me drop it to Shamrock? Like, it wasn't Shamrock, because the next month that's who challenges Sean for the world title at the pay-per-view is Ken Shamrock. So I was curious, so Shamrock was being positioned as a guy.
Right. I believe so. That's one of the things that I don't remember very well.
Yeah. Wow.
It was a crazy.
It's fascinating.
Night.
Yeah.
Was Hebner at TV the next day? Did he go to Raw the next day, or did Vince say go home and just cool off for a while?
No. They. Wow. I think it was because of Taker. Taker, he was our leader. He took care of him. He said, you did what you had to do.
So Taker told the boys, nobody F with Earl.
Yeah, pretty much. He just did what he was told to do by the boss.
Robert Martinez super chat saying, respect to Jimmy, a great story. Sold on Full Gear. We will get into
Thank
Full
you.
Gear.
We'll get into that. Yes, absolutely.
So that's very cool.
It's so fascinating from your side of it, Jimmy. I'm over here just like, because all that I've ever gone through is just the podcast, the shows that we're seeing, obviously the Brett documentary, and just the back and forward and arguments. I remember when my nephew first started getting into wrestling, that's one of the first things that we're searching, like moments in history, that we missed when we weren't watching it. Oh my God, he's 24 years old and we still debate over our different opinions on what went on that night. I'm going to make sure he watches this.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing too. Like, I was part of the ring crew at the time as well. So we're waiting to go out there so we could start tearing down the ring and stuff like that. And Brett was just wouldn't leave. And we're like, okay, we get it. And then, we're out there doing our business. And then we hear all of a sudden somebody comes running, oh, did you hear Brett just punched Vince? And we're like, what? Oh my goodness, we're missing all this cool stuff.
Goes to show you, backstage drama has been a thing since always. It's just how documented it is today compared to back then.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if there's a live press conference after Survivor Series 97?
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. But
CM Punk, hold my Diet Pepsi.
Yeah, exactly.
CM Punk could never.
and the whole thing about, Brett going in to talk with Vince about the match and him being Mike, because they were doing the Wrestling with Shadows documentary at the same time, so there were cameras everywhere, and I'm just Yeah, I think it was Britt that asked the camera guys to leave before the incident with
did.
Vince happened in the locker room. So
Yeah, he like looks over and goes, "You guys should probably leave now."
yeah.
So you don't have my
Amazing.
assault on camera.
Yeah. We don't want any video evidence. It wasn't, cell phone footage wasn't as prominent back in that day.
Yeah, right. I'm looking at the card right now. There's only 2 other singles matches. The rest are traditional 4-on-4 Survivor Series men. Jimmy, obviously you're out there with the group of refs out there, just enforcing the eliminations for the other match. Did you? There was Kane against Mankind, and also Stone Cold against Owen, which is famous because this is Stone Cold back 3 months later against Owen after being dropped on his neck. Did you ref either one of the singles matches? Do you remember?
I don't believe I did. And the funny thing is, I don't even remember what I refereed that match that night, because all my memories are of what happened at the end there.
Yeah.
That just took over everything.
We're going to have to go back and watch the whole pay-per-view so we can
Yeah.
say, Jimmy, your memory is bad. You did referee this one match.
Right.
That's awesome.
It's like I always say, like I can remember the words to every 70s and 80s song I hear on the radio when I'm driving, but I don't remember why I went down to the kitchen like 5 minutes ago.
Amen.
All right, so 25 years ago today, it was Survivor Series 1997, the famous Montreal Screwjob. So, great point of view and recount from Jimmy. You and I've never actually really talked about that.
No.
So to hear your perspective from standing in Gorilla, that's a perspective I have not heard documented. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing. Yeah.
Kevin Landry says, "I love all 3 of you, but I also miss Matt Morgan." Mate, drop Matt a line on social media. He's doing his thing down in Florida still.
Yeah.
Christy says it's crazy how underappreciated Jimmy is in the online wrestling community. He articulates so cleverly and genuinely tries to not sound negative. Great addition to the show.
Jimmy's the best.
I appreciate
Jimmy's
that.
The best.
Oh, thank
Jimmy's
you. Oh.
You're underappreciated, Jimmy.
I guess I don't know. Like I'm here. I enjoy this. I enjoy talking to you guys. I enjoy Monday nights with Triple J. I enjoy doing the ref and rants. I do them because I have fun doing them. People take things a little too seriously sometimes. Wrestling is supposed to be enjoyed and have fun.
Fun and an escape. Agreed.
Yes.
1000% agreed. It's that's what it's all about.
Yep.
But I love doing this with the both of you. But I have gotten to see wrestling from a whole different perspective since I started talking about it with you. So.
Well, thank you.
And it looks like Christy had like a duplicate, but did just add in this one. Shout out from India. So watching from India.
Nice.
So
wow.
Awesome.
We're international. Look at that.
International.
It is also the 800th day of Roman Reigns' reign as
This
the
is
Universal
true.
Champion. And I wasn't going to let it go and not bring it up. So
Of course.
happy 800 days of Roman Reigns to everybody. To those who celebrate, of course I do. So
To those who celebrate.
I have a video coming up on my channel. It'll be uploaded tonight. It is all of my reactions throughout the last 800 days of Roman Reigns. My favorite moments. I couldn't put all of them together. It would have been like a 2-hour video. But my favorite moments of this reign. So go subscribe to my YouTube channel. Cheap plug.
Oh, what a compilation that's going to be.
Nice.
What a compilation that's going to be. All right. Very good. Let's go ahead and jump into AEW Dynamite tonight, coming from Boston, Massachusetts. And we kick off with some 8-man tag action. We got the Guns plus Swerve plus Keith Lee going up against FTR and the Acclaim. Billy Gunn makes a last-minute run-in appearance as the entrances are winding down to attack Swerve. So that was a nice big pop from the crowd. I want to note here, there was a spot that Austin Gunn does his best little jab, road dog, shimmy, shake, and then swing and a miss gets put into a sharpshooter. And I note that for those of you who weren't plugged into social media today, some quotes, maybe out of context. I haven't listened to the audio, but some quotes being surfaced around that Road Dogg had made on a podcast. Basically, I'm paraphrasing here, but saying that he's a better wrestler than Bret Hart is not as good of a wrestler, but he's a better. Road Dogg's a better sports entertainer than Bret was, and that's what it's all about. That's the one that's been sensationalized. I don't know if I have it out of context. I'm just saying that's what got buzzed around, and so funny little spot, little nod to the to the social medias today of that spot there. Ultimately, though, Bowens is going to get the pin and the victory for the good guys. Do want to note, though, W. Morrissey and Stokely Hathaway out there with the guns, but they did not, I don't believe, make themselves really physically. They didn't really do anything. They were just there kind of as presence.
Yeah, more or less. I think there was one spot where they may have got involved, but it wasn't overly done like we usually see.
Like AEW precedent.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But still, yeah.
I mean, yeah, Jimmy, go ahead, keep going. I mean, a fun opening match. I mean, all the guys involved in this match are over to a degree with the audience. So this was fun, and I mean, I think the right finish happened here, which is the Acclaim keep on rolling.
Yeah, the only issue I have with it, like you said, it was a fun match. It was pretty much what I expected from an 8-man tag team match. And AEW rules would not be followed very well. There'd be a lot of shenanigans going on and that sort of stuff. But it was a fun match. The only problem I had was with the finish. I got a little confused as to who were the legal men in the finish, because there's two individuals in the ring. All of a sudden, there's a separate two individuals doing a spot, then another two individuals doing a spot. Who were the legal ones? I kind of lost track, and it was like, then Aubrey counts 1, 2, 3, and I went, oh, wait a minute. What? Now I'm trying to think back. Were they the legal people? And if you have to start thinking about whether it was the legal two people who ended the match, then the finish got lost in translation.
Which is fair. I will play devil's advocate to you. I think hardcore or casual viewer, okay, obvious rules being broken and not being called, I think that's like a blatant whatever. I do say if there's legal man questions, it definitely is a peek behind the curtain of, I think they got a little ahead of themselves trying to put this finish together, but I don't think your average viewer is keeping track of that. So I guess that's where it comes to you got all these moving parts of 8 people, but nonetheless, I mean, but you're here as a referee to point that out. So I'm not negating the point out, but I will say that one doesn't bother me as much because I'm like, I don't know how much that takes away people from the finish. I think when we see blatant disregard from rules, that's an obvious one. Issa, how did the opening here sit with you tonight?
Well, I don't want to play devil's advocate here, but to Jimmy's point, I'm going to send you the clip. I'm going to tag you guys because my first impression was, who is even the legal person here? And I had a couple of comments in my chat saying it just feels like everybody's doing spots and I'm not sure what's going on anymore. And it was a constant comment happening on my watch along. So people do pay attention to that because people were like, everybody's just doing spots. That's all this match is. For an opener, it was fun. You had a hot crowd. I did really enjoy the crowd tonight in Boston. They were popping for a lot of things. You got the Acclaim coming out there. I do think that the teasing of this tension between Swerve and Keith Lee is just making the match between them so predictable that I'm just so disconnected at this point about this feud and this match. It's the third time we've seen it. We know these two guys are not on the same page. So it's just like, why not give it to FTR then and give us something new at Full Gear? But for an opening, fast-paced, look at us doing all of these spots, it was a great match to get the crowd going and get the show started on a high note.
That's a really great point, Issa, about that I left that out, but we'll go into that. So Swerve comes out first, and then Keith Lee behind him. Swerve tries to give a fist bump to Lee, and Lee no-sells him, and they just keep walking. So, I mean, that's a very fair analysis of what that does. I'm all for them moving Swerve into the heel category because I think there's something natural and organic that's happening there that the people are buying into. I do wonder what is the right thing to do with Keith Lee. I mean, Keith got that first night pop that everybody gets when he made his first night of his debut, whatever it was. Time runs together now. Right. But things kind of just died off after that, as it does with some of the other, it's really cool to see them here. And then it's like, okay, now they're just another guy or girl. So is Keith Lee, it's putting him back to being a singles babyface the way to go, or do you just let him follow in the heel path with Swerve? I'll be interested to see how Keith Lee's booking and trajectory is over the next few months because I'm in question of whether or not this is the right thing to do to have him split.
I hear you.
I don't see Keith Lee handicapping people from scissoring. I hope he doesn't do that. Let that for Swerve.
Right.
Handicapping people from scissoring.
I don't know. That's a term I've ever thought I would use ever.
The phrases that come out of my mouth, come out of any of our mouths on this show. Let's hit a few super chats here.
Okay.
G Lee, that's what makes Jimmy's great. He's humble too.
Oh, thank you, G. Appreciate it.
So
we should have a Jimmy appreciation podcast just on a random night, just like sit Jimmy on a throne and we just show him.
Oh my goodness.
Jimmy, when's your birthday?
My birthday is in March 19th.
Oh, so perfect Road to Mania show. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. There we go.
Cool with that. Yeah.
There we go. Tina and Kevin, we'll get to your super chats here in a moment, accordingly on the subject matter. Let's talk about MJF. So they tout how we have not seen MJF on Dynamite since the attack a few weeks ago. He's put through the table. He, of course, is challenging for the world title to Jon Moxley at Full Gear coming up in a few weeks. So MJF not there live, but he was on the #1 sports podcast in America, Pardon My Take. And they show him there in studio, him being a guest, and then he proceeds to kind of just stop in the mid-conversation and direct his attention to one camera, and he just cuts a non-stop, uncut, one-take promo that is one of the best promos I can recall, not just by him, but by anybody. I'll just give you a quick little highlight of it. He's basically talking about how the docs told him not to travel, and that if he wants to be 110% for this title match, he's listening to them. They said don't travel, so he is not on the road. So that is their way of getting him excused from being on Dynamite right now in storyline. Mm-hmm. And he says he's gonna do that. He wants to be 110% because this match against Jon Moxley, it is going to be it could be the crowning of the next face of a generation. And he notes how Bruno, Hulk Hogan, Dusty, Flair, Stone Cold, Cena, all the birth of the faces of their generation, and MJF equates himself to that, and that when he becomes AEW World Champion, that is the era that we are entering into. He then finally notes how his spotlight has constantly been hogged. He talks about whether it is Matt Hardy having a big spot in a main event match that overtook his attention. He talks about blood and guts staying on top of the cage, and all he says is Jericho, but I think he's alluding to the Jericho spot, and everybody thought that it looked cheesy. And then he most notably reacts to his return and comeback at All Out, and that he's overshadowed and his spotlight is stolen by a press conference. He will not let his spotlight be stolen at Full Gear. Issa, 5 stars, 6 stars, 7 stars. Where are you at on it?
10 stars. One take MJF. I love that you brought that up because I brought it up too. I was like, one freaking take. And you know what I loved about this is that MJF could have delivered that promo just the same live in front of the crowd. I know it for a fact. Like, it was pre-tape. It doesn't matter. He would have done it in front of the crowd. He explained why he's not there. I love the fact that he mentioned that it is his time. MJF has been here since day one, calls himself a pillar, which Moxley went back and mentioned. We'll get into that later, right? But what do you have to prove it outside of these diamond rings that don't really mean anything storyline-wise, right? So I love him bringing up the face of a new generation. I loved everything that he had to say. The only nitpick that I have is the tweet that he sent out today saying, "You'll hear from me tonight. Let's sell some tickets. There's still some available." He wasn't there. So he baited some people when it comes to that. But this was perfect in a promo battle. And we'll talk about Mox because it wasn't bad. But I will say MJF took it and sold Full Gear tonight.
Yeah, it was absolutely, when you talk about blow away promos, he just blew it out of the water. He didn't hit a home run. He knocked it out of the park. It left the building. It was incredible. And you talk all the time about, yes, you can do all these things on television and run these angles and stuff like that to try and to push a match. But at the great ones are able to talk people into the seats or talk people into buying the pay-per-view. What MJF did tonight was he talked, at least for me, talked me into wanting to see this pay-per-view specifically for that match. And that truly is an art. And when you talk about a generational talent, he's proving to, he's still a little young. He will get there, but I think in due time, he will prove to be a generational talent.
You know what? To your point, sorry to post that again. I can talk about MJF for an hour if you let me. But as an MJF, like, he's been my favorite thing in AEW since AEW, was created. And him talking about it's about time. It's true. You go back and think of all these pay-per-views you bought to see MJF get his big moment or see MJF get his big matches. I'm even thinking of the ones that I attended live. While he put on some great matches, I haven't seen a crowning moment for my favorite AEW performer, and it's going to feel like a big deal. And then you know that Mox is going to give him. I mean, I think MJF wins, right? I'm already over here celebrating, but I think Mox is also going to give him the fight of his life. And I think that winning it from Moxley, come for me, I don't care what anybody has to say, it's a bigger deal than winning it from old, fragile CM Punk. Because you're beating a guy that's also at his best, also in his prime, one of the best things that AEW has produced. I think that's a big deal. While I get that CM Punk has the name value, I think that Moxley is going to give him that run for his money, that match that we want to see MJF win at 110%.
So tell you what, let's stay with this. I don't normally, I usually go linear on the Dynamite rundown, but I'm actually going to jump around just so we can do all the MJF Moxley right now.
Right.
So let's fast forward into the second hour. Moxley comes out with Regal, and Moxley cuts a promo. He recalls when he was young and being under the William Regal learning tree and what have you, and basically recounts his history, and that says, young Moxley, young dumb Moxley sounds like kind of young dumb MJF. And he knocks MJF's public identity, makes fun of him, trying to look like $1 million and trying to present himself with a certain bravado, makes a joke that his mom buys his clothes at JCPenney's for him. Basically says that MJF does this talk the talk, but he can't really walk the walk. And then he knocks MJF, calling himself the devil, and Mox gets real close, real serious in the camera and talks about he's met the devil, talks about all the bad people, bad places, bad things he's seen other people do, and that you are not the devil. And the crowd is reacting to this promo. Another good promo. This was, maybe, I don't know. MJF's was one take. What we saw, I didn't listen to the live recording of the podcast, but this obviously is clearly one take live in the middle of the ring. Crowd reacts to this one as well. They're also cheering at some point for Moxley for this promo. What do you do here? If you're Tony Khan, if you're head booker, what are you expecting? Are you expecting this to be a respectful crowd in New Jersey, which they're playing it towards it being, even though it's Jersey, but they just lump all of Jersey and New York together, and it's MJF's backyard. Are you expecting MJF to be the clear-cut face and Moxley the heel? Or are you expecting a split crowd of face-face? Like, Jimmy, what do you think is going to happen here?
It's hard to predict because you could see that the crowd, even outside of the New York tri-state area, wants to cheer MJF because they are so taken in by him. They enjoy him that much, even in the role of a heel, and they want to cheer him. Now, MJF does have the ability to get that crowd turned. He is able to get them to boo him, but at the same time, I don't want to rush the babyface turn for MJF. He's still got some legs as a heel, and I would like them to wait a little bit for the right time. Maybe this match, something happens in this match that involves someone else outside of these two.
All right,
but I'm jumping way ahead.
So to that, let me toss. So let me toss that to Issa. So another thing that happened. This happened, I think, right after commercial, after the MJF promo. We get a quick pre-tape promo of Stokely Hathaway, and he's just itching to make MJF's life hell after being fired by MJF. So, Issa, you were a minute ago just talking about how you're celebrating already. It's foregone conclusion. Tony Khan and MJF obviously worked out whatever real life issues came to surface. He's got MJF back on TV. MJF's in the world title match. So it's just we assume, right? MJF is the new world champion come November 19th. Are we sure, or are we making some noise with other participants to somehow get us out of that? And how are you okay with that? Or is the crowd going to be throwing trash like it's Bash at the Beach 96 if MJF doesn't walk out as champion?
I don't know about throwing trash, but I think that the crowd is expecting it to happen.
It's Jersey. It's Jersey. Of course they throw trash. Have you ever been to Jersey?
They're not going to throw trash. It is okay. I'm not going to say what I was going to say. Listen, I didn't like the two back-to-back pre-tape promos. By the way, they could have timed this separately, but I guess it kind of plays to keep this in the back of your head. I think the person that's going to play a part here is actually William Regal. I think that maybe Stokely tries to become involved, but they get rid of, they manage that. I think it's gonna be a William Regal. He'll turn on Mox and he goes with MJF. That's what I think is gonna happen.
Ooh.
Oh, I
Ah.
like.
And a good way to explain it is maybe, yes, what you said a few weeks ago about MJF being a young you. I totally agree. Your time is come and gone. MJF is the future. You say generational talent. That is exactly what he is, and maybe that's the way you can turn it.
Wow. All right.
I like that.
That's a hell of a call. That's a hell of a call.
When I'm right, I'll text you guys. Because I'll be there live. I'm going to Full Gear, so I'll be basking in my own glory.
Awesome. she is shooting her shot. All right, let's get to the super chats here. Kevin, waiting patiently. Thank you, Kevin. He says, I hated the MJF promo. I hated the MJF promo. You can see the babyface turn, and it just looked unnatural. Being a heel looks so natural for MJF.
There's a reason why they're pushing this MJF as a babyface thing. He's not gonna be a babyface. We saw him. He did it with Punk. He did it with Punk a couple of times, and people fell for it. The only difference is that he turned the right then and there. I think here he's gonna wait for the right time.
Exactly.
Yeah, and look, Kevin, I think we've talked about this. I think MJF he could still be the same MJF and still line up on the babyface side of the fence. I think I used it last week. In fact, it's much like Austin. It's just if you watch Steve Austin prior to March of '97, boy, we're all about '97 tonight. Prior to Mania 13, Austin would deliver a low blow unprovoked. He would do the heel things. Once he became the babyface, once that turn happened, he still had the same edge and grit. He just didn't resort to those things first. He let his heel opponent do it first, and then it would be eye for an eye,
right?
Or eye for something else. He'd find some bombastic return, beer truck or something. So I think, Kevin, the same can be applied to MJF. MJF can still do the same. MJF can still rag on the crowd, and the crowd will kind of just revel in it because I think that we can still keep what has made MJF work. I think you can still keep it, but just make more of his opponents be heels rather than the baby faces. So we'll see. Corey says MJF is a great promo, but should remain a heel. All right. So some questions here from people on that. Peter asks, weren't we supposed to be celebrating Wardlow as the next big star after the MJF drama? The shift turned towards MJF, and now Wardlow is in a tag. Well, we'll get to Wardlow in a minute here about him being in a tag. But Peter, I will say this: the last tag of the promo that MJF's talking about Spotlight being stolen. I think business is certainly there for eventually Wardlow and MJF to have another singles match where Wardlow can spit the same back at him, saying, Max, you took your whiny ball and went home on a night that was supposed to be for me. I think there's some real life blurred of lines that we can get to. Yeah. So we'll see. We also have some other. Peter has another one that's looks like it's coming to me. We have some ones. We have this one for Jimmy. Jimmy, wrestling enthusiast, says was watching Taker Batista steel cage match from 2007, and I love how much emotion Jimmy showed before allowing Edge to cash in his Money in the Bank. Is there another one from Wrestling Enthusiast? Hang on one second here.
Batista Taker cage match from SmackDown, I believe. That's the one where I instituted instant replay.
Oh, really?
I believe that was the match where they both exited the ring and landed at the same time and had to restart the match. Maybe.
So the second part of his chat is any memories on that night and how stressful it was to ref 2 matches in a row with time constraints and an Undertaker who was injured at the time. Yeah, so Jimmy, if this actually hits a nerve with me because I was a huge Mr. Kennedy fan. This is the year that Mr. Kennedy wins the Money in the Bank at Mania 23 in Detroit, and then gets injured a few weeks later, gets misdiagnosed. His diagnosis is he's going to be out for 9 months. Right. So the call is, well, we got to get the Money in the Bank briefcase off him. Edge takes it off of him, only for them to find out that his diagnosis was wrong, and he actually was only going to be out like 6 weeks.
Right.
And what have you. So, but then this leads into Edge Taker stuff. So yeah, I mean, any more memories from this?
No, I thought it was it worked out great. I thought the whole thing turned out great, and I appreciate the comments about my emotion during that match. I didn't want to oversell it, but at the same time, I wanted to put it over that Undertaker was injured, and here comes Edge, and this is how. Come on, man, you don't, fellow Canadian, you don't do it this way, kind of thing, and which also led to me getting the opportunity to referee these two at WrestleMania 24.
Yeah.
So, nothing but fond memories of both Edge and Taker and getting to work with both of them. It was awesome. I was blessed, man.
Trip down memory lane with Jimmy. All right, but let's go back to MJF and some of the booking that Issa just put out here. Tina saying Regal is turning heel with MJF. We've had faces as champions for a year. Time for a heel to hold the title hostage and make the faces chase. That's money.
Yeah,
Kevin, I disagree. I think Regal and Moxley turn heel by attacking MJF with the brass knuckle. So Regal and Moxley go heel.
No, they've been telling this story, and I want all of you guys to go back because I don't forget the night that William Regal debuted in AEW. He had a 10-minute speech about why he is behind Bryan. And then when he turned around to Moxley, I made fun of this. He said, and Moxley, I've known you for a long time. And he just kept talking. I completely dismissed all of, go back and watch it, I'm telling you. He completely dismissed all of Moxley's relationship with him while putting over Bryan. I always felt from the second he debuted that while Moxley's, Team Regal, I don't think that Regal was always all in there. So I'm just saying, it's been going on since the night he showed up.
Yeah.
Now you got me thinking, Issa. Now you got me thinking.
Long-term booking.
Issa's got the hair on Jimmy's head just burning.
Oh, or on my face.
I can make that joke because Jimmy and I are like identical in that regard.
Yeah, so. There you
go. What do we got next? Peter also in the super chat as a self-proclaimed LaBar historian. I was always curious why you left Bleacher Report in 2014. And why did you stop writing articles altogether? So with Bleacher Report 2014, basically, I had a great time with them. Still look back and fond of my time and love doing videos with Alfred Kennable. This is nasty. We did a lot of fun. We did a lot of fun live green screen magic together, looking like we were in the same room together when we were 3,000 miles apart. I had a blast. Basically, what happened was that year was on NBC Sports a couple times with Michelle Beadle in New York previewing Mania, previewing SummerSlam, and maybe another one. And when doing that, some of my other employers that I also had doing pro wrestling stuff, not Bleacher Report, basically said, we'd like you to try to be more exclusive to us, and basically bought out my Bleacher Report deal. And Bleacher Report also just went from being the gem that it was organically and owned by a couple guys in San Francisco. I think they had just sold to Atlanta, just sold to Turner. And it was kind of like, I'm going to the new devil I don't know, so to speak. And it was just a situational thing. I no hard feelings towards them. I gave them a nice notice. They everything, there was no bad blood. So that was that. And then, in terms of writing articles, I continue on writing, there was from that time all the way through like 2016 to 2017. I was writing at least 2 columns a week for the Trib here in Pittsburgh, maybe some for WrestleZone. And it's like when you're being told and expected to write X amount of columns a week, especially, everybody thinks that everybody wants to do a podcast and write wrestling columns on the road to Mania, or when a brawl out press conference situation happens, or when Vince steps down. Talk to me in the dog days of December, when it gets to a point where it's like you just start to feel like creatively you're just, am I finding something to nitpick for a reason? Like, I don't know. It just got to a point where I just want to relieve that. And quite frankly, the people read less. They read headlines more. They like more video clips. So there was just more financial and more value. There's more value in the people I work for to do this and take a 30-second clip of what I say, or 60-second clip of what I say, or an interaction I have with Issa and Jimmy. And that goes a lot longer of a way and is easier quality control than doing a 600-word column making sure it's grammatically the best it can be, making sure it has SEO, search engine value. This is just the easier way to go about it. So that's where we win. So appreciate
easier said than written.
Yes, it is easier said than written.
1,000%. And you get more engagement as well. It's not the same when it comes to the articles.
And not to do the cheap plug, but as someone who took the time to write the book,
that I'm reading right now.
It's thank you. It's not easy. Let me put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean the quality control, like, I mean I can go on a rant for 2 or 3 minutes on here easily and make it, I think, sound interesting or be whatever. But to do that same thing, to put it in written form and then make it translate correctly on the internet, it's a whole different game.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's enough about me. Thanks for your Peter. Shout out to Oz with the super sticker. All right, let's get back into Dynamite here. So we did all the MJF stuff here. Let's talk about next up. Ethan Page back out there with Stokely Hathaway up against Eddie Kingston. They show some raw indie footage talking about these guys have a decade of history with each other, very familiar with each other. This is an eliminator tournament matchup. At the end of this tournament, whoever wins is going to get to face the winner of MJF and Moxley at Winter is Coming. So that does give some stakes to this tournament. Contested battle between these guys. The finish, though, they have a name for it. I missed the name. Sorry, somebody will correct me. Ethan Page does a Razor's Edge. He has his own name for it. A Razor's Edge off the top rope onto Eddie Kingston and gets the victory here. So Ethan Page going over on Eddie Kingston. Issa, is that the right call?
First of all, did it not bother you a little bit that you have to use this indie footage because you're not building storylines on your own show? So you're like, look, they wrestle each other. Like tournament is the. I love a good tournament. Don't get me wrong. I don't even know where the brackets are for this one. I don't know where it came from, but it's like the easiest way to get out of booking storylines. Here's a tournament. Let's just throw these random matches together and use indie footage because we haven't seen Ethan Page on TV. When the music hit, it took me a second to realize who it was. So, and Eddie Kingston losing has become such a thing that you his matches just feel predictable. You gave him that big win against Jericho, but that was the only momentum that he's had.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Yeah. And I get what you mean, Issa. I don't mind the fact that they brought up the fact that these guys have fought each other before, have had a rivalry on the indie scene, but now this is moved over to the big stage, so to speak. Now they're on national television. They've brought this rivalry to national television. But to actually say that they've competed in dog collar matches and they've competed in steel cage matches that Ethan Page actually defeated Eddie Kingston in an I Quit match. Sometimes giving too much information is not good on TV. Yeah. The fact that you're mentioning those indie promotions is nice, gives them a little bit of a rub. The fact that these guys have a history together, that's fine too. But when you start cage match, dog collar match, I Quit match, why am I getting a regular match?
Right. I completely agree. It's a rub. They mentioned AEW in Cleveland, AEW in Chicago. It's a rub to those promotions to have their names spoken on Dynamite. But Jimmy, kind of what you're saying, it's like, well, if those promotions could give me those bigger matches, why aren't you? Why if these inferior promotions have been doing Kingston versus Ethan Page for the last decade, why the hell are you just now doing? It does give off a question of like, this is Dynamite. This is TNT or TBS. I'm supposed to be seeing this. I'm supposed to be seeing the best, the first. It does. It does. I think it does take away from that a little bit. Tina Miller, of course, she's a big Eddie Kingston supporter. She says biased
Eddie Kingston's #1 fan.
Yeah, she says biased take. It feels like the feud with Jericho sucked all of Eddie's momentum he had last year like a vacuum. I'm afraid he's spiring. Love y'all. I love you, Tina. Appreciate it. I will say this. I think, I think Eddie, it was this time last year, I believe, that Eddie had penned his very personal column in the Players Tribune, and he really opened up about his mental health and about his shortcomings, if you will, professionally and personally. And I remember reading that, and that was cool for me. I was like, man, I'm a little bit more of a fan of this guy because that takes a lot of balls to come out and talk about this. So I appreciated and understood him more being on the roster, even if at one time I thought that he didn't necessarily fit the part.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel like I don't want to say his 15 minutes are up, but she used the word momentum. I do feel like momentum has just kind of stalled with him. And I don't know what necessarily to attribute it to, but I do feel like kind of Eddie Kingston's best times in AEW might be behind him. Jimmy, I mean, where do you sit?
I think, he's fallen into the Wardlow trap right now. Where
don't put him in the same sentence as that. Come on now.
Well,
don't put Wardlow in the same sentence as that.
No, it's just again. I think you're right. I think there's a little bit of a lapse here. Maybe it's time to take Eddie off TV for a little while and bring him back in a different form or fashion. Let him rejuvenate his career in a different form.
But can he? Because he's not a guy that you're not going to toss a mask on him and have him reinvent. He is who he is. Like what? I mean, how much could you really reinvent him?
I know. Turn him heel. Turn him heel. That's it. Just let him go after all the baby faces. I'm the guy that puts everything out there for the people, for the fans, for this company. To hell with the fans, to hell with the people. You guys all suck up to them and stuff like that. I'm not sucking up to anybody anymore, or something like that. Anyway.
Yeah. And somebody in the chat was mentioning making it a gimmick match. You can make it a gimmick match if it's a tournament. Jeff Hardy and Darby Allin had an incredible ladder match. That was part of a tournament. So you could have made it, you could have hyped up the stakes here.
Kevin jumping back in as our fourth man here, saying Eddie Kingston versus MJF promos equals money. Their match would be money as well. Ethan versus MJF doesn't sound interesting to me. I will say, an Eddie Kingston and MJF, just the sheer opposites ends of the spectrum there.
Yeah.
MJF, who is at 23, 24, who's taking over the business, is going to just call out and antagonize a 41-year-old Eddie Kingston of, it took you this long to get here, pops. Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, it may have some legs. But don't undersell Ethan Page. I've seen this guy a lot.
He's great.
He's awesome. He's awesome. Trust me.
Agreed.
You Canadians got to stick together.
Yeah, eh?
All right. Arya Daivari is in the ring. He's trying to sell his butler in exchange for the TNT title. Wardlow comes out. Headbutts, lariats, and powerbomb symphony. 3 powerbombs onto Arya Daivari. The bigger news here is after the match. Wardlow calls out Powerhouse Hobbs. Hobbs starts to come down the ramp. Wardlow thanks Hobbs for coming at him face to face and not from a sneak attack. And Wardlow says, "I'm going to take all of the titles," and that is a instant response by Samoa Joe, who was standing behind Wardlow as part of Ward Joe, to attack Wardlow with his title and beat him up. But then we still see Samoa Joe and Hobbs jaw-jacking. So the point being, this was not some master orchestrated plan. This was Joe snapping at Wardlow's comments, and Joe and Hobbs are no friends here. So Issa, obviously, I'm extremely sensitive to Wardlow. Do you like Ward Joe being broken up here?
Yeah, because up until the turn, I didn't like Samoa Joe coming out with him. I felt like it was just discarding it, and I'm glad that we did get a turn, because otherwise I didn't feel the need to have Samoa Joe out there with him. If they're doing something as a tag with the whole thing that they're doing as a part of Ring of Honor, then they should be together. But otherwise, if Wardlow's coming out, for a TNT title match, he doesn't need Samoa Joe there. So I was nitpicking at that until I saw that it was going somewhere. Well, we didn't get to see it because the cameraman completely missed it. But but that's what we were going with. I'm excited about that. I smell a big, meaty, man-slapping meat match coming our way here with Wardlow, Samoa Joe, and possibly Hobbs. But, I mean, if we have Samoa Joe out there for a turn, can we capture the moment? That would have been nice.
You exactly what I have written down here, and not to correct you, Issa, but it wasn't the cameraman who missed the shot. The director who called for the shot of Hobbs while Samoa Joe was swinging the title at the back of Wardlow's head. So whoever the director is, boy, you blew that one. Yes, you could see it again on an instant replay, but it loses that effect.
And it's funny, and it's funny too that they missed that shot, because leading up to that, they were utilizing one of the things that they do on TV that WWE does not do, which is AEW has a knack every now and again for doing a split screen, which I like, because in pro wrestling, when you have this back and forth of both the spoken word and just the facial expressions, do a split screen so I can capture both in the moment. They were doing a split screen of Hobbs on the ramp and Wardlow hollering at him, and they went away from it. If they would have kept the split screen, you would have been able to see Wardlow get hit from behind. And so, yeah, it was to Jimmy's point from a technical standpoint. The camera people just capture what they're told to capture. It's the director, and then they are hollering out which shot to take, which then is called the technical director, who is the man who is physically pushing the buttons of take which camera, make it whatever. They flubbed it up at the truck. So, I mean, Jimmy, good on you to defend the camera people, because it actually wasn't on them.
Yeah. Well, I got along with the camera guys as well. I tried to stay out of their way as much as possible.
Yeah. So, I mean, Wardlow's been we've talked about it. He had a tremendous summer, then just kind of in this funk of, he was just lightning in a bottle. He had the Goldberg effect that we talked about, and then he's just kind of in this funk. Is this a recharge to him that we're going to get him maybe in a match against, veteran Samoa Joe, up and coming Hobbs? Obviously, Wardlow needs to retain. Is this a recharge for him, Jimmy?
Hopefully this is something that recharges, because they had something with him, and I just hope that they didn't miss the boat with doing this tag team Ward Joe and all that sort of stuff. This guy is another guy who's got potential money written all over him, but you got to book him right.
And Issa, I want him to get that money. I get 10%. Are you happy that Ward Joe's done?
Yes, I am.
Kevin is too.
I don't think I want to see Wardlow as a singles. He's a star. He's got it. I don't understand why you're wasting him. So hopefully, like Jimmy said, hopefully this is a recharge and we see Wardlow come out on top and continue his momentum that he's lost.
Yeah, Kevin Landry says, thank goodness Wardlow's done. Worst tag team name ever.
I don't know if it's the worst tag team name ever. Does he remember, Kevin? Do you remember Techno Team 2000? Anyways. Don't get me started.
There's a lot we can go into.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Up next, we get the advertised face-to-face of the women, Saraya and Britt, Dr. Britt Baker. Tony Schiavone starts this, and then he makes an awkward exit. He looked like he had trouble getting out of the ring there, but that's just my own little fun, poking fun at Tony. These two ladies really go at it here. Let me go through the bullet points here. Saraya starts with the announcement that unfortunately for Britt, Saraya is 100% cleared medically. And she goes on to say, AEW is my house. Britt snaps back and says, no, I built AEW from the ground up. So superstars like you can come over and pay some rent to be here. Britt then continues to say, we don't accept walk-ins here, so bitch, make an appointment. Seeming, to throw shade at Saraya, everything she's going to come in and have her first match in years and just be right there up against Britt. Saraya says, it's funny for you to say, Britt, because you got everything here handed to you. You were handpicked for your role by Tony Khan. Saraya says, I've been publicly humiliated. I have battled in public my drug addiction. I have broken my neck. Britt doesn't know what it takes to make it in this business. Saraya has been in it for 17 years or whatever the number is. They are going to have a match though at Full Gear. This is look at the Full Gear card. Issa behind the MJF Moxley. This is my number 2 interest here.
Yeah, there's and we'll get into it later, but there's 3 women's matches that actually have storylines. These matches have been building up, and I'm so excited about that for the women's division. It doesn't feel like we're just throwing women out there to put women on the card. This was awesome. I felt like both of these women had a lot of good points. I felt like I think this is the newsworthy aspect of the show that Tony Khan promised, but I felt like it was predictable. Like you wouldn't not tease Paige and Britt getting to this point if we didn't know that we were going to get Paige being clear. Very happy for Paige. Hopefully, she's gonna be okay. I feel like us as people that watch them, we're gonna be extra careful and extra protective the first few matches because that's what we did. We did it with Ish, we did it with Daniel Bryan. That's what we do. But if she's clear, let her wrestle. Because I was the first one to say her career got taken away way too young. And I know she did this for a long time, but she was still way too young to have her entire career taken away. I love this back and forth. I felt it was very realistic. I love the points that were made. There was also a couple of points that I wish would have been made in the aspect of Saraya here. I still don't feel like she's giving Britt the respect that Britt deserves. Like, this woman is a freaking dentist. She doesn't have to be busting her ass in the ring. She has a career. This is something that she does because she has a passion for it. And we have seen Britt Baker wrestle through a lot of injuries in AEW, right? And Britt should also give that respect that, yeah, you've been here for 3 years, but this is the biggest match of your career compared to, what we've seen before. That being said, I am super excited for this match. It's probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but off the top of my head, there's not a lot of grudge women's matches that we see. No title involved, just a must-see two superstars female in AEW. I'm super hyped for this.
Well, and that's, Jimmy, I want to ask you kind of that, stemming off of what Issa just said. You have the AEW Women's Championship, and then you have the TBS title, which is held by Jade, or self-proclaimed right now by Nyla. This non-title grudge match between Saraya and Britt, to me, is more important than anything that any women's title has going on.
It has overtaken it in the excitement level, that's for sure. And it's both good and bad, because yes, it's good because you want to see, I want to see Saraya get back in the ring, and I want to see her succeed and do well, and of course, wishing nothing but safety as well. But I'm sure her and Britt are going to have a banger of a match. But when a non-title match feels more important, like you said, Justin, than the main women's title and also the secondary women's title, and oh man, it just speaks volumes to how over, let's put it this way, Britt and Saraya are right now, and how they're missing the boat a little bit with the women's championships right now.
Yeah, but to your point, the world title is an interim, and it's not going to feel important until we stop calling it interim.
Yeah.
True.
Jimmy said banger.
Uh-oh.
Banger.
After banger.
Banger. Yeah, I mean, it does feel, I mean, I don't know. This feels bigger than anything in the women's division right now.
But Saraya promised that she was going to come here and make changes in the women's division. And to me, while I understand your perspective there, Jimmy, because it doesn't help your titles, it really does something. Because what we were getting were a couple of matches thrown together. This title is going to be defended, no story going into it. And if you look at WWE, we also haven't seen a good grudge feud in a while. It's fun to just watch people go at it because they don't like each other. No title needs to be involved. And these names do not need a title. Are the other women doing something for the titles, though? That's something to be discussed at a later time.
Yeah, they still got one more week to help build that. But I will say this, again, another great job by Saraya in the promo department, showing passion. It really, really translated well. She did a great job in that. And, just overall tonight, it seemed like the talking segments were, other than the ones backstage, were working. The ones that were happening in the ring were working.
Robert also liked the promo, said the promo is authentic on both sides. So thank you, Robert, for that. I mean, obviously, we're still have another week to go, so we can always do official predictions next week. But just as we sit right now, I mean, to both of you, do you see any situation to where Saraya loses this match, or is this kind of a foregone conclusion that she's going to come out and win her comeback match, right, and her debut match in AEW?
You can make a case for her losing. Again, it depends on how it's done. Where maybe something happens. I see Issa shaking her head already. She needs the win right out of the gate. But and I agree. I was going to say but you can make anything work depending on how you do it. It's just in this situation, I think that I think I can't even spit it out. Look at that. I think Saraya should get the win. It's just a matter of how you do it. I feel like Britt hasn't been getting her just desserts. Maybe this wasn't the right person for her first feud.
That's where I was going. Britt Baker is my favorite in the women's division in AEW. My sister partner. Find the pictures on my Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
However, because she's been taking so many pins on TV, that's the only reason why I don't see her winning. If you have Britt Baker as this dominant force as we saw her during her title reign, then I could tell you, oh, this could go either way. Right now, I don't even see it as a matter of Saraya getting her first match back. It's just a matter of Britt Baker has no momentum, and that's on the booking that she's experienced. While it has helped Jamie Hayter, she's taking a lot of pins on TV. So what makes you think that she's not going to lose at the pay-per-view as well?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's something to keep in mind, right? Is that Britt does have, she does have Rebel, and she has Hayter. So I mean, that would be a way to try to.
Yeah, but Jamie Hayter has also the biggest match of her career on that night.
Right.
Depends on how we book this and which order these matches get put in the card.
Yeah,
True.
It's so wild. I can remember. Again, talk about Survivor Series. Survivor Series 2014. Yeah, it was the one that Sting made his debut at WWE in. We were here in Pittsburgh, and there was about 30 of us that gathered at a local restaurant and bar that was actually showing Survivor Series, and Britt was in this group. Britt and I were in this group, and we're watching, and we're just having food and drinks and cheering on, just having fun, just watching wrestling. And I can remember Paige was the team captain for a Survivor Series match that night. And I remember just sitting there with Britt, and Britt, being very, she was like a year and not even a year, maybe inside of her pro career of having matches and training or everything, and just sitting there talking about Paige and how young she was, and just knowing what we knew. Paige had just debuted earlier that year at Mania, being 21 or whatever it was, and just seeing, and Saraya even said before wrestling was even a twinkle in your eye. Now, obviously, the wrestling was a twinkle in Britt's eye, and at this point, but when they said that, I just had this personal moment of like, wow, like this just hit a little personal. Because I can remember sitting there drinking some Miller Lite, eating some pizza next to her. We're watching Survivor Series, watching this, and then now here we are, 8 years later. And we're talking about it being the second biggest match on the card, and it's just it's just the world goes around here.
Amazing,
fun stuff.
Yep.
All right, we got Trent Beretta. He's up against Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal's attacking him before he gets even to the ring. This match eventually happens. Satnam Singh, Sanjay Dutt, Danhausen, they all get involved, but ultimately Jay Lethal hits the lethal injection for the win. So Jay Lethal starting to rack up some wins on Dynamite. That's pretty important. But the biggest stuff out of this is post-match. Post-match, Sonya Dutt brings out Jeff Jarrett, their newest guy to their alliance. Jeff Jarrett proceeds to talk about why is the last outlaw in AEW. And he talks about how when a friend calls, you answer, talking about his friendship with Sonya Dutt. But he talks about how he signed Jay Lethal to his first full-time contract ever in his career. He talks about Sonya Dutt having an IQ of 181, how they've taken over promotions together. He talks about Satnam Singh being a legit 7'5" giant. This ain't no make-believe monster with red skinny jeans that's being controlled by the banana-nosed circus.
Oh, my goodness.
So Jeff Jarrett, we're later going to find out it's going to be Jarrett and Lethal versus Darby and Sting at Full Gear. But nobody cares about that. We all care about Jeff Jarrett taking some shots at a Braun Strowman, and is Triple H running the circus?
Well, it definitely appears to be that banana nose running the circus line that he threw out there. I thought there was an amicable split there until that line was thrown, and then all of a sudden that just tells me something is up there that we don't know about. But now that, and the bad thing about it is people are going to focus on that line more than putting the big guy over or anything like that. Everybody's going to focus. Oh, did you see the shot he took at Hunter and calling the circus? Sometimes just don't even bother with the other guys and just concentrate on your own stuff and get your own guys over.
Yeah, and Issa, look, here's my thing. Obviously, you know I'm a big Braun fan, but I know Braun. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I've heard.
Remember when I told you he wasn't it back in 2015 and you didn't want to listen? Anyways.
In the words of Dr. Evil.
I did. I'll never forget. We were at the Mania. We were at the Raw after Mania 33, and I told you he's not it, LaBar. I don't know what you're on.
Shush.
Okay.
Shush, please. I've heard rumors. I heard he's not everybody's cup of tea. I've heard he's a little. He's his own best agent. I know that doesn't always rub people the right way. But to take shots at Triple H, I mean, like, you know, I guess what I'm getting at here is like, you know, unless Jeff has got a better financial deal at AEW than he did in his previous role in WWE, I mean, you're taking shots at a banana nose ran circus that we're hearing about how that circus is accumulating more revenue just from Saudi shows than in the 35 plus year history of Like, I don't know. Just come on, Jeff. Like what? Like why? Because to Jimmy's point, now that's what we're talking about. I'm not even talking about. I'm not even pulling out a tape measure. Is Satnam Singh actually 2 inches taller than Omos? I don't even care. I'm focused on the banana nose circus point of this all.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was more focused on the boy that had no reaction last week, so they just completely took him out of the faction this week, and nobody mentioned him. What was his name?
Cole Carter.
Remember? Yeah. Where was he?
Okay.
And why was he not mentioned at all?
fake Sting.
Yeah, I call him Shark Boy. Anyway, so.
Wait, real talk, real quick. As I said, he's a Pittsburgh boy, homegrown with us. Bro comes out the curtain, panties drop. I got to give it to him. Dude is just like he
wasn't coming out of any curtains today wearing no mask. They just completely acted like last week never happened.
They did. I just want to defend Cole Carter a little bit.
That's
okay.
good.
He's got the female demo.
Okay.
Sure. Isn't it weird that you're talking about the female demo and you're a dude and I'm the girl and I'm over here like, sure, he does. He's like 5'8".
I'm directing it to you. I'm just saying. You're always worried about big meaty men slapping meat. I mean,
he's not in that category. How tall is he?
He's my height. He's like 6'1". I'm saying he's not necessarily a big meaty man. He's kind of like a nice slender cut of a sirloin, I guess. Maybe. I don't know.
He's more like grilled chicken breast.
Wow.
Listen, I'm on a diet. I love me some grilled chicken breast right now, okay? Listen, the WWE digs
we got way off topic.
Yeah. I'm trying to bring it back. The WWE dicks are just not for me anymore. like you know, at some point it's just like, oh, okay, that's cute. But let's move on. But at the same time, I made fun of it on my watch along, right? That's it. I was more focused on poor Cole Carter and the fact that they made such a big deal out of it last week, and now this week he was nowhere to be found, not even mentioned. Right. Again, I said it last week, and I'll continue to say it. I do think getting Jeff Jarrett is a very good gift for AEW, especially with his brain and his mentality. Do I want to see this match? I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know. I think I saw everything that I needed to see from Darby and Jay Lethal last week.
Jimmy, what are you expecting to see? Jeff Jarrett's going to be in his debut AEW match, in a tag match. He's obviously in phenomenal shape. There's no question about him being able to go out there and perform. What do you make of that? Him and Jay Lethal up against Sting and Darby Allin.
I'm okay with it. You got old school and new school together. Well, Jay Lethal isn't really new school. He's kind of like in between school. Let's put it that way. He's not quite as old school as Jeff and Sting, but this is an opportunity to get the guys that are going to do the majority of the work, like Darby Allin, who needs a big win here. I think after a few weeks of not being that guy, I think he's the one that needs to come out of here looking like, smelling like roses. Let's put it like that way. And here's the opportunity to do that. And excuse me, as I read somebody saying there in the chat that watch Sting no sell the guitar shot. I hope we don't see a guitar shot during the match and the referee standing there, even though Sting no sells it and the referee's about to ring the bell and he goes, well, he didn't sell it. So anyway.
We will get to referee disqualifications in a moment. Okay. We talked about the Mox promo earlier, already covered that. We do get another one of these teaser videos about the Elite, about the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega being erased. We see a lot of pictures of early days of them growing up and what have you. There are glimpses of the Prudential Center, which is the location of Full Gear. So hint, hint, wink, wink.
Say no more.
So I mean, I'll just real casually toss it out there. I mean, 100% right. We're going to get the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega resurfacing at Full Gear.
That's definitely what it appears to be. The seeds have been more than planted. They've been watering these seeds as well. And like you said, with these shots of the Prudential Center, it's almost a dead giveaway. And I can understand why they need it. They took their time promoting this event. I mean, we're 2 weeks away, a little over 2 weeks away. And tonight was the official, really let's get this motor going to start pushing this pay-per-view. That's what it feels like.
Issa, back to what we were talking about earlier. I mean, is this a sign that if the Bucks and Omega are going to reappear for the first time since the Brawl Out, they're going to appear at Full Gear? Is the only logical destination where they appear something connected to the title match between Moxley and MJF, or do they show up isolated as their own? Or I mean, like, where do you think they show up?
I don't know. I thought that maybe you should have had him show up earlier and book him on a match just for selling tickets purposes. I mean, yeah, we know they're going to show up, but what are they going to do? I would have liked to know that ahead of time. Excited to see them show up. Nonetheless, I do think they're missed on TV, but Trios title, they were kind of stripped of them. We never really got a lot of answers, so it would have been nice to put them in maybe a Trios title match. But regardless, I'm excited to see what happens. And yeah, this could have not been more of a dead giveaway at that point. The gears turning, Prudential Center, like it's just a matter of, hey, this is where we are going to see them.
All right, Sky Blue versus Jamie Hayter.
At 9:30 p.m. on the dot.
Yep.
I always say the train's never late. Hayter's gonna win with a ripcord lariat. I do want to give a shout out to Sky Blue. I don't see a lot of Sky Blue, but I did. I was impressed by her on a few different sequences of athleticism and strength that she had. So just a shout out to Sky Blue. If anybody's talking to Sky Blue tonight, tell her I said what's up. Shout out to her. But Jamie Hayter wins here. Tony Storm's at ringside. We're just Britt and Rebel there with Jamie. Not much more to say here, but Hayter gets a win. No surprise.
Yeah, no surprise. The lariat did look good though. It looked devastating, and like you said, Sky Blue did her job very well tonight to help, get Jamie Hayter over and get her, hopefully pumped up for the pay-per-view.
Absolutely. All right, main event time. It is Bryan Danielson versus Sammy Guevara. 2 out of 3 falls. These are 2 of the 4 participants in what's going to be at Full Gear, a match for the Ring of Honor title. The other 2 being Claudio Castagnoli and, of course, champion Chris Jericho. So 2 out of 3 falls matches. Jimmy, I would defer first to you as the referee. I'm always very harsh on 2 out of 3 falls. I don't care which company it is, because I feel like it's such a predictable trope, and so few ever even take advantage of having 2 falls, happen in a row. So so my point being, it really makes the story of the match have to shine to make me forget about it being a predictable scenario. That said, I like their usage of us getting through the falls. Right. The first fall, when we start the match, Danielson is just beating the hell out of Guevara. He's got full control of Sammy. And finally, to the point where Ty tries to step in the way and tries to stop Bryan, buy some time. Sammy then does the old Sabu, just chucks the chair right at Bryan's head. Referee saw it and recognizes the DQ. DQ. So the first fall goes to Bryan on account of a DQ. Then the second fall is going to go to Sammy. He's going to get the pin on Bryan. So, at least we got to the all-important, sudden death third fall through some manner of creativity. Am I wrong here?
No, you're not wrong. And one of the brilliant things about this match was the announcers helped tell the story to the audience for those who didn't understand. Why would he purposely get himself disqualified? He was sacrificing the first fall because he was getting dominated. Now he took him out with the chair. he's down one fall, but now Bryan Danielson is at the disadvantage and he could take advantage of that. So basically the story they were telling was he sacrificed that first fall in order to get the upper hand. And it worked because he tied up the match at 1-1, and it looked like he was dominating through the third fall until Bryan Danielson made his comeback and eventually, pulled out the big win, 2 out of 3.
And it should be noted too, after that first fall DQ, just before the cutting commercial, after the throwing of the chair, then Sammy does a few more shenanigans. He's taking the microphone that's there with the bell, and he's pounding on Brian, and I mean the place is just F you, Sammy. I mean, he's just got heat everywhere. So really, doing his job. Finally, though, Brian is going to ultimately get the submission on Sammy. He's got the label lock, and then he readjusts and gets into some other variation. I don't know the submission name. Sorry, I'm not Excalibur, but he ultimately gets the ref to call it, gets the victory. So Bryan Danielson gets the win as we are on the road to this fatal 4-way for this ROH championship. Issa, Jimmy's always talking about 20 pounds potatoes in a 10-pound bag. I do feel they kind of reined it in tonight. They were a little more streamlined in let's not have so much goo goo gaga before and after. Let's try to be a little more focused. That's not to say there wasn't critiques to the show, as we've certainly covered in the last hour and 22 minutes, but I appreciate the straightforwardness of this main event.
Yeah, it was greatly appreciated on my end. Even what you mentioned about the commentary, I love that. And we don't see DQs all the time. So when you do see them, you go like, whoa, hold on a minute. DQ in AEW. So I do appreciate the fact that they don't book them often. They do ignore the rules in order to not book this DQ, right? But when you do see one, you go like, okay, this match got so good. After they were tied, that's going for that last fall. There was so many counters, the back and forth. It was like, they were really trying to hurt each other. It looked like Brian had a broken nose or something because he was bleeding from the chair shot, but also you could see his nose was bleeding. I hope he's okay, but I thought this match was fun. It went over, I believe it was like a minute or two. So I was like, oh God, did we buy an overrun? And now JAS is going to come out and then the, Blackpool comeback plug. And no. It just ended with a good match. And sometimes that's all you need. And I really, really appreciated this main event. I'm actually looking forward to this fatal 4-way because we just saw one half of this fatal 4-way can do. Imagine adding Jericho and Claudio to that mix. It's going to be a crazy match.
Yeah, and happy, I think, 52nd birthday to Chris Jericho, who showed off his physique at 52. So,
did you see him in The Masked Singer?
Oh, is he in The Masked Singer?
No, I missed it.
Oh my God. Oh, you have to watch it. There's a clip going around social media. I'll DM it to you guys because to us, it's so obvious that it's him. We're wrestling fans, right? But it's hilarious. I'll send it to you guys.
But he hasn't been revealed yet?
No, but it's him.
But it's him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, please send it to me. I gotta say, tonight's Dynamite, for me to grade it, is kind of peculiar because this was definitely not the most exciting Dynamite to watch. But looking at the objective, which is of course Full Gear, they got a lot featured and accomplished. So, I wouldn't say it's a failure of an episode. Definitely not a failure. They certainly moved forward to November 19th, but it was not the most exciting. It was kind of like I would say I would classify it as Jimmy as a necessary episode.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I was trying to think of the right word, and I think a necessary episode is a great way to put it because they needed to get the right kind of attention, especially on the main event match for the World Championship. I think they did an amazing job of talking people into the seats and talking people, like I said earlier, into buying the pay-per-view with that amazing MJF promo and Moxley's promo in the ring too. So they've got my money.
Yeah. So that was Dynamite tonight from Boston. Again, we have one more Dynamite to go before Full Gear on the 19th. So what they do next week on the go home, we will be all eyes on, and we will be here live for you as it relates to all things. I just got easy to slide into the DMs. That's what
nice.
we're all hearing our chimes go off.
Oh, okay.
Very good.
Ah.
Thanks everybody tonight for all the super chats and the comments. Really good. Hang on, let me make sure. Maybe I did not do my job. Do we still have some?
I don't think you
I'm
read
sure.
Dylan's. You read Robert's, but you didn't read Dylan's.
Dylan, I dare Tony Khan to book Braun versus Satnam Singh.
Okay. Oh, wow.
We'll see. We'll see.
Mhm.
Yeah. I don't think Braun's going to be showing up in Jacksonville anytime soon.
Probably not.
Thanks to everybody, though, of course, in the chat. Super chats, appreciate everybody in the live chat. Again, if you are checking us out after the fact on replay, I love waking up on Thursday mornings to tweets of
I just
here.
Sorry to interrupt. I just saw it from Bernie. Thank you, Bernie DC. Because apparently at Survivor Series 97, I refereed the Survivor match of Team Canada versus Team USA.
Thank you, Bernie.
I like how Bernie went back to watch for us. That's great.
It's insane that you ref that match and you just can't recall it because of all the madness that went on that night. Like, that's insane.
No, it's amazing that I think it was Heart Foundation and so anyways, like you said, I don't remember refereeing that match because of all the stuff that happened afterwards. Just dominates my mind, my memories. Anyways,
so that's 97. So you're not married yet.
Nope.
Did you have anybody? So you're not calling home to anybody to like,
nope,
say you're not gonna believe this shit. You're a single man on an island of your own, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was all in the car afterwards, driving with the crew, with Schimmel and the crew. Just talking about what happened. And do you believe Mark Hayden would ring the bell like that? So, just taking our cheap shots at our boys, but other than that, it dominated the conversation all the way to Ottawa. It's not a long drive from Montreal, but still
very fun. All right, well, big thanks to everybody
yes.
tuning in tonight. I love it live. I love the tweets on the Thursday morning of where in the world you are listening and what you're doing to pass the time. Issa, give us the cheap plugs.
I did it earlier. NYC Demon Diva on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah. At Jimmy Korderas on Twitter, at Real Jimmy Korderas Instagram. You can find me on social media, on Facebook, everywhere, doing the ref and rants from Monday to Friday, just having some fun, being the Canadian heat magnet. And you can also get the t-shirts, ref and rant t-shirts, ProWrestlingTees.com, and you can see me here on Wednesday nights with these two, and on Monday nights, usually the Triple J after Raw.
Jimmy, always with a ref and rant to the coffee. Jimmy, give us what's your brand of coffee you drink?
Believe it or not, do I want to give it out there?
Yeah.
It's a brewed Maxwell House deep, rich, dark roast. But there's also some other brands. We have some. There's this one called Dewey Egbert, which is awesome.
What is it?
Dewey Egbert. It's yeah. And
I was waiting for you to bust out like Tim Hortons or something.
No, I do that through the drive-through during the day, so I don't need it at home too.
Jimmy, I'm gonna mail you some Puerto Rico coffee.
Oh my goodness! So
you can give me a review. You can. You can let me know which reffing rants you're drinking it.
He'll be on his ass. The ref and rant will be going for a while.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's awesome.
Oh my god.
I'm a Dunkin' Donuts guy for anybody.
Oh, okay.
Don't eel me. I tried. I had a relative who's into Cafe Bustelo.
Bustelo's okay.
Well, maybe I'm just a lightweight when it comes to the coffee. Yeah. I got some Cafe Bustelo, and I had like 3. We have a Keurig, right? So I had like
no.
I had like 3 of the K cups of a Cafe Bustelo, and I was home by myself, and I was scared. I had like a certain high that I had not had, and I was like, "What is happening?"
Nice.
I can drink coffee right now and go to bed, and it will be like nothing.
I wish.
Yeah. Coffee, like when you grow up here, like they feed it to us in our like baby bottles, so it's just something that doesn't even have an effect on us anymore. But I'm gonna send you some. I'm telling you, I'll send you some too, LaBar, so you guys can try some real coffee.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, that's gonna do it. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. For me, at Justin LaBar across the Twitter or the Instagram. Friday mornings on Busted Open Radio with Dave LaGreca and Thunder Rosa. Spar with LaBar. Check it out live on Busted Open Channel 156 or on the podcast or on demand, whatever works for you. Appreciate all of you. I'll be back. Actually, I'm not on next Monday. I'm off. I called off Monday. Not on next Monday. I'll be in football hell Monday night.
Wait, they're putting me with. Oh, Rush tricked me. He didn't tell me how to do the podcast with Jack. I thought it was gonna be with you two. Oh no,
Nope.
I'm gonna have to have a conversation.
No,
No.
you, Jimmy and Jack next Monday. I'll be back with you two next Wednesday.
Well, good thing we have a referee. Good thing we have a referee.
Absolutely.
I may have to wear the striped shirt on Monday then.
Please.
Okay.
Wear the stripes. Oh my God, between Issa and Jack, hey, you better separate those two.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like it's like the two prettiest people on our damn podcast network. We can't have them scratch each other up. God,
There you go.
not possible. Not possible. All right, that's gonna do it again. Appreciate all the support. My wonderful co-hosts. Thanks to everybody. Have a good night. We'll